Hello, I'm Misty Winkler with Simply Convivial, where we dig into better home management with a cheerful attitude. Today, I'm excited to share with you a part of the kickoff event for Sweep and Smile, which is starting on Friday. There's still time for you to be a part of Sweep and Smile, which is a 6-week course that will help you build the home routines to keep your home mostly cleanish. I think that the clip from the workshop here will encourage you in your housekeeping, and it might just inspire you to join us. And if you want to, there is information in the description below. Now let's dig in. So welcome today to Sweep and Smile. I'm so excited to do Sweep and Smile with you. I printed out my checklists. My home routines here need attention. Like, I don't really need to rewrite them. I just need to actually do them. So you might be in the place right now where you need to make brand new schedules and rethink everything and figure out routines that work. And we're going to do that in Sweep and Smile. Or you might be somebody who just needs to actually do the routines that you know would work if you do them. So which category do you find yourself in today? Sweep and Smile has been one of our most popular programs at Simply Convivial. And I think that's because it has the right mix of both practical and ideas. Just a checklist isn't going to cut it, because the root of our problem with house cleaning usually is our approach, our attitude, our response, our demeanor, our mindset, our metaphors. Routines are not a once and done kind of thing. Like, I have the program, now watch me go. So if you were expecting your routines to just going to be put in place and make life effortless, and then it doesn't, it's not because you're doing something wrong. The only thing that's wrong with that is what you were expecting out of your routines in the first place. The evening and the morning routine are the linchpin pieces of maintaining our home. And your morning routine and your evening routine are each supposed to be only 15 minutes. So you have to find the chores that for you pack the most punch. It's an exercise that helps us really dial into what's going to make the most difference. You only get 15 minutes, but you can do a lot in 15 minutes. More importantly, you can do what matters. You can do the things that will make the biggest difference in your home in 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening. That's your power team right there. And we're going to talk about figuring that out this coming week. You'll get the email on Friday. It's in module 1. And then we're going to be tracking those every single week, because those are the places where we'll get real traction in our homes. You haven't failed. Seeing a blank spot from the previous day when you missed it, just an indication that that's where your attention needs to go next. That's the thing that you need to not skip again, so that you don't lose the momentum. Because multiple days in a row is momentum. One day off isn't a break. It isn't a crash. But missing multiple days is a loss of momentum. So as the check marks start accumulating, there's going to be a new section every week. You don't have to be shooting for 100%. You can shoot for 100%, but you haven't failed if you don't get 100%. It is a scorecard, and you want to get higher than 80%. So then on the checklist, there's a third section, And the third section is declutter jobs. So these are bonuses. And the declutter jobs are especially helpful if you are really going all in with Sweep and Smile to overcome chaos, and you need some direction because it seems like there's everything to do. You don't know even where to start because everything's a mess. You can do the routines and you need to do the routines, but you also need to do a little extra to get out of chaos mode. That's what the declutter jobs are for. So they are optional. They're an idea for what to do to build up your traction and climb up out of those chaos or survival seasons. And most of them are small, short, but they have a big impact. So if we're talking about washing the dishes, we really focus in on the dishes in the sink instead, and never really think about the dishes that we have washed and available, or the meal that we ate with them. And it's the same with laundry. We can focus in on the things that are in the hamper, the clothes that need to be stain treated or mended, and we're not really recognizing or counting all the clean clothes and the clean kitchen towels and the fact that we are running our household. Now, our household is being active. It's being used. It's a tool. Things are happening. And so there's going to be more laundry and there's going to be more dishes. But that's not a problem. We're keeping our household running, and running is an ongoing kind of thing. So the work will be ongoing. And a element of Sweep and Smile, the attitude or approach taught in Sweep and Smile, will be seeing the goodness of running a household and repeating tasks, and finding satisfaction and fulfillment in doing a job that yet you're going to do again tomorrow, and not letting that discourage you, because there's nothing wrong with that. But in a project world, in a world where you are used to taking a test and getting a grade, turning in a project and getting a grade, fulfilling a checklist and getting a paycheck, like we're used to, I do something, I get something, at least affirmation of some kind. And one of the reasons we struggle with housework is that homes are not set up that way. But homes are the natural environment, and school and jobs are the unnatural environment. So we shouldn't be trying to model our housework on a job or on school. And we shouldn't be discouraged when our home doesn't give us that kind of feedback. The point of the housework is to keep the household running, to keep it functional, to maintain it, to fulfill our responsibility for upkeep. And that's a different kind of work than a job or school. But it's a better kind. It's a more natural kind. It's a more fulfilling kind, really, if we change what we're expecting out of it. It's more like a gardener or a farmer, where if you stop working, the weeds take over. So it's not, okay, planted the seeds, done, now we just sit back and wait for the harvest. So no, every day you got to be out there doing little maintenance things and paying attention to what needs to be done. And you can't just follow a rote checklist to get guaranteed results. You have to be taking into account the weather, and you have to fix the system that breaks, and there's always something to do to keep things going. And that's the role of a homemaker. Homes are like that. So when we recognize that and give ourselves a better metaphor, we can be more encouraged in our work and more joyful in our work and more satisfied in our work. So a big part of our discouragement over housework is not recognizing the difference between project mode and maintenance mode, and that those really are two separate modes. And much of what we do as homemakers is maintenance mode, but we have expectations trained by project mode. Because school, jobs, these kind of things, church events, these are all projects. And so we are used to running projects. Projects are finished. Projects get affirmation or some kind of recognition after they're complete. And you can sometimes make housework things into projects and at least give yourself a little pat on the back when the pantry is cleaned and organized or something like that. But that's not the dailiness. That's not the daily work of homemaking. And that's not the way cleaning works, or at least doesn't work very well that way. I spent many years early in our marriage treating cleaning like a project, which meant that I didn't do it until it was going to be obvious that it had been done. So things would get pretty bad. I waited and waited until things got pretty bad. And then went into tornado mode, the kind of thing where it doesn't take a super observant husband to walk in and say, "Whoa, you've been busy." And that's what I wanted. That's what I liked. And so finally I realized that I was doing this boom and bust cycle because I wanted that kind of feedback after I had done work. Like the work didn't really count unless someone could walk in and say, "Wow, you've been busy. Good job. I see what you did here." But most of housework is not like that, or it shouldn't be like that. What we want to do is get out of the boom and bust cycle where things are a complete disaster before we go into crazy mode, whirlwind mode, and knock it all out. Because that doesn't last, and that's not a sustainable system. It's not a sustainable pattern, and it's not a satisfying pattern. There is a little bit of payoff at first every time because you do get that wow effect, even from yourself. It's not taking care of the resources that we've been given, and it's not being responsible. It's not being mature. It's not the way we would train our children to approach their life or their home or their bedroom or their homework. And so even if you get an initial payoff from it, get the boot or the bust after that boom because you have no habits in place and you have no practice in maintenance mode. Just doing the next thing, doing the work before it's terrible, doing the work before it's evident that you did anything. And that was very difficult for me for a long time. Like, why should I wipe out the sink when it's fine? Because you're going to wait till it's not fine? And then it's going to take more work and effort. You can keep things mostly running by doing a little bit every day. It's not as satisfying in a lot of ways. It doesn't get that same kind of payoff, which is why I was recommending earlier taking a little before and after photo, just because it's not going to be obvious, but it's still going to be there. It still is an improvement. The effort still is worth it. Yeah, maintenance feels boring. Yes. Christina says, why is it that if anybody stops by unexpectedly, it's always in the middle of a bust, not the boom of the cycle? That is the truth. I think that then sometimes we might approach a new habit, a new system for maintenance mode by saying, I'm going to do all the work of my, like when I'm booming, when I'm whirlwind mode cleaning, like I'm just going to do that level of cleaning all the time so it always stays done. And that's not really maintenance mode either, because what you're doing in the boom cycle, the boom phase of the boom and bust cycle, is really making huge visible progress. You're making a real dent in the work. The work, let's say the work is 100 and you're doing 80. When it's maintenance, the work is maybe, so there's a lot less work to do, but you're also just doing 10 or 5. Like, you are doing work, but the level stays the same. So that's one of the reasons why maintenance gets boring or gets discouraging, is because in the boom phase of a boom and bust cycle, you're making a big difference. You're jumping ahead. There's a visible difference that you're making. But with maintenance, you're really just keeping it at an even keel. And so then the question, or the obvious problem, becomes, what is that even keel? Because it's not totally clean everywhere all the time. Unless maybe you can do that if your kids are grown and gone, or if your kids are gone at school most of the day and you want to spend an hour and a half every day. You can put yourself into a situation where you can keep it clean most of the time. But for most of us, for anyone with multiple kids at home, if you are doing projects, if you have responsibilities and people that you are caring for, if you're investing your life in other people, then your house will have messes made in it. There's stuff that comes along with helping people. There are dishes that come along with feeding people. There's laundry that comes along with clothing people. Work generates evidence, messes, the need for putting things away again, because those things were there so that you could use them to work, or so that, and then that just multiply that with however many people are doing things all day, every day in your house. And when you are feeling that need to go whole hog, you are taking big strides in the status quo. You're getting ahead. And that is exciting. And that's noticeable. And that feels rewarding in a very external way, noticeable way. But maintenance mode is keeping things at whatever status is status quo in your home. That doesn't come with the same easy satisfaction or reward. There's really no external reward at all for just keeping things the way they are. And a lot of times we don't even recognize that it takes quite a significant amount of effort just to keep the status quo. When we do the boom and bust cycle, we aren't really noticing that, because in bust, we're just letting it all go to pot. We're paying attention to other things. We are being discouraged about the work. And it's not until you put some time into maintenance mode that you realize, like, why I keep doing my routines, but I never feel like I'm getting anywhere. So yeah, maintenance routines don't get you anywhere. They are treading water. And it turns out if you don't tread water, you drown. So they're doing something. It is worthwhile. But you don't get that getting ahead, getting on top of things reward. So we have to shift our mentality and our metaphors to appreciate treading water, to figure out if our status quo is acceptable or not. And if you need to improve your status quo, there are two pieces to improve. You have to get the maintenance in place so that you're not slipping, because otherwise entropy, there is no status quo without constructive effort. If we don't do anything, the house will fall to pieces, even if no one is in the house, because dust, whatever. Like, entropy is the way the world works. Things tend toward disorder by nature. So without constructive effort, you will get farther and farther behind. So you have to put the maintenance routines in place to keep your status quo. And Sweep and Smile is mostly about those maintenance routines. But as you work through the modules, when you do the brain dumps, you are going to figure out what maybe needs to happen in your situation to increase the level of your status quo. And sometimes a higher status quo, a better status quo, will mean effort into your maintenance as well. Like, it depends on the rate of entropy in your house. And you'll be thinking about that as we go through the course. As we go through every room in the house or area, you'll be addressing, like, what is my situation? What is the use case in our family? And the maintenance is the effort required to just keep things the way they are. And that does take a significant amount of attention and work. Like, it's significant because it's important. It actually is meaningful. It is an investment. It is worthwhile, even though that's usually the work that we trash talk, that we downplay to ourselves. It's significant, not because it takes a lot of time, actually. It's significant because it's powerful. It's actually important to the running of our household, even though there's not that visual payoff. As we work through getting those maintenance routines, a great example of this would just be a bathroom, say. 5 minutes a day in a clean bathroom will keep the bathroom clean. You could spend 5 minutes a day in the bathroom and it would be pretty much clean all the time. 5 minutes in a disaster, grimy, grody bathroom it's gonna make a difference. You could do a before and after picture just to remind yourself, like, hey, I made some progress here. But it's gonna stay grimy and grody if you just put 5 minutes in, because a bathroom that's used generates grimy grodiness. That's gonna happen there. So at some point, if you do want to iterate and improve the general cleanliness of your home, that's going to be on top of maintenance effort. Your maintenance effort isn't going to get you ahead. You're going to have to put extra time in to get ahead. But when we recognize what's going on and we recognize the difference between, this is my maintenance effort, this is me running my house and keeping everything going, status quo, then we recognize that those chores are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Even if what we want is up here and we're doing all this effort and it feels like we're just biking in place because we just stay here. And it's like, no, actually, this is me being on the treadmill. And I'm getting the steps. I'm doing the effort. And yeah, I'm staying in place because that's what we're doing. I'm not falling off. I'm not hurting myself on the treadmill because I stopped and the treadmill kept going, and before you know it, you're injured. You fell over backwards and scraped your elbow, and the treadmill just threw you for a big loop if you don't do the effort to stay in place. It takes effort to stay in place. So the maintenance routine is staying in place on the treadmill of running your home. I'm not sure how that metaphor transitions to, if you wanted the treadmill to be in a different place, that would be, you'd have to stop and move it. I don't think we can stay with the treadmill metaphor here. But above and beyond the maintenance routine is where you need to spend additional time to move your home from a state of chaos to order. And you'll be thinking about that and identifying what your hurdles are, what your struggles are, and what the best approach for you will be to address that throughout Sweep and Smile. But the primary goal of Sweep and Smile is getting that maintenance level in place so that we aren't drowning, so that we aren't succumbing to bust in the household, so that we aren't falling off the treadmill. Because you really, if you try to do any work to get to a better place in your house without the maintenance routines, that is boom and bust cycle. That's just getting better, and then there's nothing there to keep you afloat. As we work through the Sweep and Smile routines, we will be more aware of the goals and the purpose of different pieces of our housework, and figuring out and identifying what our particular house needs to be. Clarissa, who's been a member for quite a while here at Simply Convivial, says, once I changed my attitude about maintaining work, my house became more enjoyable. It took time to realize how much I liked the house being somewhat put together. That is a weird, real thing. It takes time to realize how much I liked the house being somewhat put together. It's not perfect, but it's so much better. And I don't freak out if someone wants to just stop by. That's our goal right there. And it is possible and it is doable no matter where you are at right now. And it starts with the maintenance routines, even though those maintenance routines are not going to get you to a peak position. I'm excited to start Sweep and Smile with you. Now, this was only about half of the kickoff workshop that we did for Sweep and Smile. Join us and you can see the whole thing, which includes a very practical, doable step for noticing better the progress that we are making as we clean house. Chores are not mundane, and they don't have to be tedious and unfulfilling. We can find satisfaction and joy in the day-to-day work to do around the house. Join us for 6 weeks of Sweep and Smile to remake not just your home routines, but your attitude about those home routines also. Just click on the link in the description below to find out if Sweep and Smile is for you.